so our motivation, so we can, as it says in these second two lines, as it says there, by the merits I create through listening to these teachings, may we become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. And the first two lines are expressing our reliance on the Buddha Dhamma Sangha. So why don't we just say it in English? I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly by the merits I create through listening to the Dharma. May I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly by the merits I create through listening to the Dharma. May I become a Buddha to benefit sentient beings. Sangye Chodan Soke Changnam La Jantu Badi Dagni Kyapsuchi Dagi Jinsa Jola Penchi Sangye. Okay, so we're ready. Let's do it. Okay, people. So listen, it's interesting. This is such an interesting point. It sounds nice. Oh yeah, our minds play a role. Rinpoche said one time, and I'm quoting him exactly, I promise. And it's very shocking when we hear it. And I've quoted it a lot. Rinpoche said, the vast majority of all human beings on the planet have absolutely no idea that their mind plays any role at all in their lives. Now, this seems almost impossible to believe, doesn't it? But, okay, I'll qualify it. We clearly know that our mind plays a big role when it comes to learning mathematics and learning music and learning carpentry. I always say this point. We know your mind is the main player. If you don't have the right theories and think the right thoughts, you can never play the piano. You can't make a cake and you can't make a table. So we do know it when it comes to theoretical things. I mean, intellectual things, like, or scientific things. We know the mind has to be trained to perfection. But Rinpoche's point is when it comes to becoming a happy person or an unhappy person, we have absolutely no idea that our mind plays any role at all. And that's the part that's shocking. And I think that's exactly right. Even if we're good little Buddhists, we all know, yeah, karma, blah, blah, blah. But the moment your hubby does the wrong thing, your wife slurps her coffee, the red light is red, you don't think it's your mind is the problem at all. I mean, even the best Buddhists, because we are so addicted, totally from eons of lifetime, Buddha says, to seeing that the outside world is the main cause of our happiness and suffering. And that's why it's so difficult. That's why it's incredibly difficult. Even the smallest disturbance on the outside, we know this, the smallest disturbance, we don't even bother looking at our mind. We just believe in the thing out there being the problem, and we know this is true. So it's very humbling. So to really, karma theoretically is not complicated. It's just that it's so utterly shocking to us because it's the exact opposite of what we think, So, but knowing many of us practicing so many years, we know how tremendously hard it is, really. So we should not underestimate how difficult it is. But it's the essence of being a Buddhist. It's the absolute total point of all Buddhist teachings, that the mind is the main player, that the mind is the creator of everything, from the hell realms to Buddhahood. The mind is what creates it. It's as simple as that. So all we can do is keep hearing it and keep getting the theories clear and be able to say them in a simple way, because we mostly just get very confused. We go, oh yeah, it's karma. What do you mean? Oh, well, it's just karma. It's like saying, please explain the roses in the garden. Oh, it's botany. Can you explain it for me? No. What good is that? You've got to learn a bit of botany so you know how to use the law of botany. So we have to learn to know the word so we can use the law of karma. And that's our problem half the time. So I think part of our problem also is because when we study the Dharma from these Tibetans, it's all taught, the Lam Rim is all structured, it's all talking to the choir. The Tibetans have had Dharma in their country since 700. So the view of, we've got to remember this, the view of karma is the most natural thing in the world for them. In the same way that the materialist view is the most natural view in the world, or the Christian view, for example, is the most natural view in the world. They're the ones we just take as a given. So let's look at how to think simply. What are the basic principles? And this is part of our problem. We can't say the basic principles. But because we've heard it from the Tibetans, in the same way that they would have said it in the 14th century and talking to the choir, they don't really explain it in the way we need it to be explained. They don't stress the logic behind it, because it's just the main point in karma in the first stage of the Lam Rim is just behave yourself and be nice and don't kill and don't steal and don't lie. And if you do, you'll go to the hell realms for 22 eons. You're shaking in your shoes if you hear Lama Zopa talk. So let's use our concepts. Let's look at it what would help us, Western modern people who don't have this view. How do we present it to ourselves that kind of begins to be logical to us? Well, there's lots of different ways, let's do that. So the very first thing, I mean, and this is part of the problem too, because we're so used to religion, the creator religions, they're belief systems, aren't they? Because by definition, you can't prove that God is right. If you say you can prove that God is right, you're in serious trouble. That means you're God as well, and that can't be possible. So the whole approach in the Christian teachings and the Muslim teachings, and I'm not criticizing it, is 100% faith, 100% faith in the creator. God has got a plan and he doesn't need to share his plan with you, but he's got a plan and you trust his plan and he loves you and whatever happens is his will. That's a pretty profound view, quite frankly. I think it's a far more intelligent view than the bloody materialist view that says your mother and father make you and no one knows why things happen and it's all their fault. I mean, that's the nuttiest view I've ever heard. But the Christian one, I think if you're going to take it on board, it's a very powerful one to put your money where your mouth is. But the Buddhist one is neither of those. The Buddhist one very clearly is neither the materialist one that says your mother and father make you and that your mind is the brain and there's nothing non-physical and, and no one knows why 90% of things happen to us. We don't know. Nor is it the view of a creator, So they're the main views that run the world, that mostly the world knows. Okay, there are 97 other views that aren't so well known. I mean, Lord knows what the Australian Aboriginals think. I've got such a complicated view, I wouldn't even have a clue how to say it. But the typical big deal religions, all those from little Israel, little baby country over there with all these different views, they all come from there, don't they? The main religions. And then you have Buddhism, I mean, there's Hinduism as well and many others, but the Buddhist one is so utterly different in many ways. And until we can say it properly to ourselves, we're not going to be impressed. We're not going to be trying to be confident. We can just say we blindly, yeah, I believe in karma, but it's just not enough. It's just not enough to say that. It's just not enough. You got to be able to articulate it. You've got to be able to apply it every second of your life, which most of us don't do. We never think of it until bad things happen. Then we get all upset, So what is Buddha saying? Okay, so no, sorry, the first step is this one. And I was having this discussion with somebody recently. Given that the Buddha's views are coming not from on high, they're not speculation, that he didn't make them up, that they're from his own direct experience. He's more like Einstein, and I say this very seriously. He is far more like Einstein than he is like Jesus, far more. Because he, like Einstein, used his mind, and yes, you've got to take into consideration that the mind in Buddhism is way more subtle than all the scientists would say. There are these subtle levels of mind that were first discovered by these genius Indians more than 3,000 years ago, that therefore necessarily can cognize more subtle phenomena than the grosser level of mind can, such as past and future. I've got to accept that as a given. That this mind, so Buddha used his mind to observe the world. He didn't look in the sky. He didn't kind of have a space out, didn't have a vision, didn't have a dream, wasn't revelation. He used his noggin and he observed the world and he crucially observed minds. That's the unique characteristic of Buddha's teachings. That's not what the Christians say, and it is not what the materialists say. Sure, they observe the brain, but Buddha's not discussing your brain, babies, He's discussing your subjective, cognitive process itself, which indeed at a grosser level depends upon a decent working brain, but is not itself the brain. Even for most Buddhists, this is confusing. We're so buy into the materialist view that we're talking about the brain. We'll say the brain, the brain, the brain. Nothing wrong. But the brain, as far as I'm concerned, as far as I can see, using the Buddhist view, is simply the physical indicator of what's going on in your mind, which is not physical, and only at the grosser level. Okay, so Buddha's deal. So the approach to take, as I always say, and it sounds very grand and hoity-toity. We have to take it as our working hypothesis. Well, what does that mean? And this is actually how we approach any piece of knowledge at all. Even when your teacher told you that 1 + 1 was 2, First of all, you'd never heard such a concept. You hadn't thought about it, and your teacher presents it to you. This concept, 1 + 1 is 2. So what do you do with that information? Well, you've got to have a willingness. Basically, this is what it's saying. You've got to have a willingness to act as if it's true. That's what hypothesize means. You've got to state, well, if it were true that 1 + 1 is 2, and you write it down, now you've got to go home and prove it or disprove it. You can't just say, oh, all right, I'll go and study it. You've taken it as your hypothesis, and every piece of knowledge starts theoretically. But you've got to have a willingness and an openness to the fact that it could be 2, that there is a thing called 1 + 1 is 2. But if you're not open to it, you'll never don't be ridiculous. What are you talking about? 1 + 1 is 2. That's not possible. Blah, blah, blah. No, you've got to be open to it. And you've got to not just say, well, maybe it's true. You've got to act as if it were true, but then you don't leave it there and swallow it whole. You then look into it. First, no choice, theoretically. And the fact of the matter is, anyway, never mind that. So then you take it as if it were, you take karma. Okay, so what is Buddha saying? You've got to have this willingness to look into it, not to go, oh, I don't like karma. I can't believe in karma. Karma's ridiculous. Don't you tell me that I did all this in the past. You've got all this wishy-washy thinking. You've got to have enough courage, having listened to the Buddha, having listened to the Dalai Lama, having listened to the other proponents of Buddhism, that you think they're reasonable dudes, and you are prepared to look into this thing. You're serious about it, and you are happy to say, act as if it is true. Karma, this, that. Then you look into it, and then you try to apply it every day. So what does this mean then? So what Buddha's basically saying is there are trillions upon trillions upon trillions of minds, non-physical, not by definition, non-physical capacities for cognition. The job of a mind is to cognize. We have sensory consciousness and we have mental consciousness. And at the level of mental, which is, as Lama Zopa says, is where the workshop is, we live at the very grossest level, which is conceptuality, all the thoughts and opinions and viewpoints and concepts in our head. That's the grossest level, and that's the only level we live at. We've got more subtle levels, but until we get single point of concentration, we'll never touch that, So, okay, these millions and millions of this is thought. There are millions and trillions of sentient beings, mind possessors, all the way from the hell realms to the spirits, to the animals, to the gods, to the humans, to the formless and the formless realm. This whole spectrum of all these countless beings, unenlightened ones. And then you have the enlightened ones, okay? It's all the sentient beings. Buddha's not a sentient being. And these trillions of minds, they are these rivers of mental moments. And the very first thing to posit, to hypothesize, is, well, the first question we always ask is, when did they begin? Well, I'm sorry to tell you, Buddha's saying it's a misconception to even ask the question. It's stupid. What do you mean begin? By definition, everything that exists in the impermanent world, including the mind, runs according to the law of cause and effect. So if it runs according to the law of cause and effect, then by definition, you cannot have a first cause. The Christians have a very big deal. Their big philosophy, capital F, capital C, they have a deep philosophy about how there can be a first cause, which of course is called God. No view like that in Buddhism. Totally, Buddha disagrees with that view. Not viable. He totally goes beyond that view. That's where he diverged from the Hindus, So anyway, he's saying that minds, by definition, like all impermanent phenomena, have to necessarily be beginningless. This blows our mind because instinctively we believe there's got to be a first moment. We're always looking for the first moment. Where did the anger begin? Where did I begin? When did happiness begin? When did this begin? When did karma begin? It's a complete misnomer. It's a complete absurd, nonsense, non-viable thought. It's meaningless. Everything is cause and effect. And everything that exists at this second necessarily is the fruit of a previous cause. So how can you ever find a first cause? As much as we freak out when we hear it, it's totally logical, So that's the first point to think about. Mind is one of those. It's a beginningless, and indeed from the Mahayana perspective, an endless continuity of mental moments, like a river of mental moments. First point, not physical. Second point, it is not, and this is the point here, it's what implied by that first statement, that it can't be and isn't the handiwork of someone else. This for the Buddha is the dumbest idea he's ever heard. I am being rude. I always say I'm not being rude, but I am. It's just quite schizophrenic that you can have an outside source, whether it's an enlightened being or your mother, create another person. So, okay, Buddha's view, in the word superior being, he uses it. The word omniscience, he posits it. The word infinite power, he posits it. The word infinite compassion, he posits it. Just the same as the Christians. The radical difference is Buddha says everybody can become one of those. The idea that a superior being makes another person and then chucks him out in the world is a very weird view for the Buddha. If the enlightened beings, even the lowest level bodhisattva, Arya Bodhisattva, has the capability to manifest their own mind in 100 different bodies. But those bodies are a manifestation of that person's mind. They're not separate, you know. They're not separate, like the way it's talked in Christianity. God makes you, he gives you a test, you fail, and then you go to hell if you're naughty. I mean, I'm just talking. But the concept of creation, there's no such concept in Buddhism. No such concept. As His Holiness says, karma is like self-creation. So the view is your continuity of consciousness goes back and back and back. First point. Second, every millisecond of what any mind ever does necessarily is the process that produces the person they become. That's the simplest way to put it. Every millisecond of whatever you think and do and say, that's the process that produces the person you become from day to day, and indeed from life to life. You know, this is the Buddha's view. So you've got to understand the nuts and bolts of that. Obviously, it's a bit mystical to us. And it's not that complicated as a sort of simple theory, you know. These minds, every millisecond of what they think and do and say, Buddha uses the term, put seeds into that mind, puts impressions in that mind, programs that mind. There's nothing we think that goes astray, you know? So that's the process that produces the person we become. Now, we're not surprised by that when it comes to you being a musician. We know every tiny thought you have about music is the process that produces the musician. So it's not complicated to us. It's just we never think of being a happy person or suffering person. That's the view that it's completely wacky, you know? We think that the outside world is what produces me. I'm just this innocent victim that goes from pillar to post, to whom good and bad things happen, you know. It's a very demented view. We feel it. Don't blame your Jewish mother, your Catholic mother, but this is what ego thinks. Completely demented view, you know. So the Buddha's saying every single thing we think and do and say produces the person we become. So this next level of detail is there are actions of thought, body, and speech and mind that are labeled negative or non-virtuous, and then there are actions of body, speech, and mind that are labeled virtuous or positive. There's a third lot called neutral. We'll forget them for the moment. There's only 3 kinds, and there's variations of them. That's it. So negative actions of body, speech, and mind, and specifically a heaviest negative action, is one done by our body and speech that's motivated by a negative state of mind, like using your hand to take something that doesn't belong to you based on, you know, attachment, your hand doing an action of taking a life based on anger. Those are called negative actions in general, and they will leave seeds in your mind, tendencies in your mind. They will program your mind with those and then they will bring 4 results in the future. One is the type of rebirth you get. You've got the positive ones as well, you know, non-killing. You as a sentient being, you refrain from non-killing, so on and so forth, and it leaves an impression, a seed in your mind. So there's either negative or positive. So the negative seeds drop seeds into your bank vault, and none go astray, and they will eventually ripen in any of 4 different ways. A complete seed, which needs 4 things in place when you do it. If it's going to be killing, it'll be a sentient being has to be there. Your mind has to be involved, the intention to kill, and based on a negative motivation. You do the action and the sentient being dies, roughly speaking. That's a complete action of killing. And then that seed will then ripen in many, many suffering rebirths. It'll be one of the seeds that's triggered at the time of your death. It's a very detailed process. At the time of your death, you might be freaking out. One of those seeds is triggered, and that programs you to go to a hell realm, an animal realm, a spirit realm, whatever it might be, a type of suffering rebirth. The other 3 ways that killing tendency will ripen, including within a human body, which is the fruit of non-killing, will be as a tendency to kill. Look at the human world. Most humans kill, which is so tragic. Second, it will ripen as an third, it will ripen as an experience of getting killed or dying young. Again, look at the world. And fourth, it'll be an environmental result, which is sickness and bad things happening and that kind of thing, sick in terms of sickness. So that's four results: type of rebirth, tendency to keep doing it, experience of having it done to you, and an environmental result. All actions, all negative, all positive, all have any of these four results. So they're the theory. It's a theory. Okay, to know each tiny detail, that's another discussion, But that's the principles. That's the principles. So the fundamental starting point for a Buddhist, given that you don't want future suffering, and that's kind of a no-brainer, then you better stop creating it, So then your first level of practice is you vow not to kill, you vow not to steal, you vow not to lie. Not because someone says you're naughty and they'll punish you, it's because you're going to create your own suffering. The biggest point, the hardest one for us to get, is that what we do and think and say produces our own results. We all have this instinctive, bizarre view that we're these innocent victims of bad things happening. We're also innocent victims of good things happening, but who cares? Just give me more, please. We don't worry. We don't care why. So this is the most schizophrenic view, Buddha says, and this is the exact opposite of karma, which is why it's so hard for us to understand it, It's so hard to apply it every day. Because the instinct of ego is to believe I'm an innocent victim, that bad things happen unfairly. No one knows why, It's completely bizarre. So this is the key point here. It's a natural law. Botany is a natural law. No one makes botany happen. Clever people who use their noggin observed growing things and articulated the laws, but they didn't create the laws. I mean, gardens aren't run by somebody. Gardens don't go to sleep unless the botanist says start growing. They're going to grow anyway because that's what natural law means as opposed to God's law. And that was why the big deal back in the time of Galileo, when he was nearly burned at the stake for daring to say there are such things as natural laws. And that's the Buddha's deal. There's no such thing as Buddha's law. Okay, there are relative smaller ones, but there are Buddha's rules. Like when his monks started growing, and then you go begging, and you have your bowl, and you're begging the food, and and he noticed that some monks who were attached to the vegetables put the rice on top of the veg. They get more veggies. So he set up a rule: don't put the rice on top of the veggies, for example. But the natural law, things like killing and stealing, natural negativities, that in Christian teachings, and this is the crucial point to remember, God's, you ask Jesus, why shouldn't I kill? Because we know that Jesus says don't kill. He will say the logical reason not to kill is because God says. So you better have faith in God, you don't kill. Buddha also says don't kill, but his reason is completely different. It's not because he says so. It's because he says, guess what, honey child? People don't like getting killed. It's a natural law. So that's the whole point. So karma is not punishment and is not reward, which is the biggest one we tend to think. But you've got to analyze it. There's no such thing as a punisher. There is no such thing as a creator. No such thing as a rewarder in Buddhism. It's just a bizarre idea. So these are the really clear things we have to think about. They don't say it to you in the Tibetan literature like this because they don't need to be convinced, It's in their bones. These are the most fundamental ones. And how do you apply it every day? Because every time something happens, you apply it. I must have created the cause. I mean, very simply, as Rinpoche says, karma is always the first cause of anything at all. Karma first, then the external condition. But for others, it's the other way around, And this is the part why it's so difficult, because it's instinctive in us to see it's the outside world that's the main cause of my happy feelings and the main cause of my suffering feelings, and that we're an innocent victim. This is really intense. So that's the first little bit to say. So now ask me some questions. We'll go more deep in a minute.
Yes, lovely to be here with you.
Good, sweetie.
Yeah, there's just something you said then that I found really liberating, that
Okay.
Karma is not a punishment
That's
and
right.
not
No,
a
yeah,
reward.
that's
So
right.
what dawned on me was that within that
Yeah,
natural law and that
yeah,
reality, there's no
yeah.
room for guilt.
That's right, precisely,
which
darling.
is
That's the
just
whole.
so,
That's it, darling. That's the point, Kath. It's sort of
yeah,
just, it's a natural law that what we see. My mother used to say, my Catholic mum, virtue has its own rewards. That's the point. That Buddha's,
mm,
even forget karma, but Buddha's saying that even having angry thoughts harms us, Kath. Anybody with half a brain can see that. So of course guilt is mean, because guilt is just thinking you didn't do what mummy said. We've internalized God and mummy and the police and judge and grandma and grandpa since we're tiny babies. And then we do something naughty, we're immediately assuming someone's going to, find fault in us. So you're absolutely right, Kath. There's no, guilt is meaningless. Guilt is absurd. That's right.
yeah, it's really liberating because, I mean, as you know, as we were both raised Catholics,
That's right.
um, and uh, you know, I've spent a lifetime trying to
Get past.
alleviate the
That's
grief
right,
and
darling.
guilt
That's right. So we've
within
got to
myself.
catch it every time. And sort of like we've
Yeah.
got to become accountable, Because it's just, it gets also guilt is just anger against ourselves. I'm a naughty girl. Because mummy told you when you're a little girl that you shouldn't break a cup. So you've programmed that all your life. And as soon as you break the cup, you get guilty because you're imagining mummy, internalized mummy is then is kind of finding it's just all programming, our own programming, Kath. So we've got to rip it out.
Well, it's also what I call a big attack of the shoulds.
Well,
You
it's
know,
all part of it. Should is anger, darling. That's exactly
yes,
right.
should. I
Should is
should
the
be
same.
doing this.
Precisely. Or shouldn't. It's just anger, sweetheart. You're exactly right, Cass. So we've got
Oh,
to, it's
really?
really, and all this stuff goes very subtle. We've got to take it at the levels we can and unpack and unpack and unpack. It really does take time.
How is should anger?
Oh,
Can
because
you
when your mother,
explain?
when you break the cup, and what does she do? She doesn't come to you sweetly and, oh, darling Kath, you shouldn't have done that. She says, oh, sweetheart, it's okay, you broke a cup. But she's anger. How dare you? You shouldn't have done that. It means you're shocked and it's wrong and you're a naughty girl. Of course, should is anger, and guilt is just anger towards yourself. That's all it is. It's meaningless. Should
That's
is
all.
meaningless.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, good, darling. Well done. So go, Jason. You had something. You had your hand up.
Yes, Venerable Rabina, you said this idea about using Buddhism as a hypothesis and act as if it's true,
That's right.
and then pay attention to how things are unfolding. And
No,
I,
no, no, no. You've got to first posit, in order to enter into even thinking about karma, what it means is, well, let's posit that it is true. All I'm meaning is not faith blind, but meaning that now let's look into it. Because until you get to the point I want to posit as if it were true, you're not going to think about it. I mean, when you go home, your teacher told you to go and study 1 + 1 is 2. But if you go, oh, I don't want to listen to that, no, blah, 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 you've got to act. Oh, she said 1 + 1 is 2. I'm going to take that as my hypothesis and act as if it is true. Now let's prove it. You've got to have that openness to it. Openness to it. A willingness to want to look. You've got to say that. What if there were a creator? Well, let's look at what that looks like. Let's act as if there is one. And then you follow it through with all the thinking. And the thinking's got to be coherent. Do you understand? Do you agree with my point?
yes, it seemed very clear, and it brought into my mind a question, which is, in that kind of way, then what is the correct way to act towards a teacher? Because, and then you kept speaking and it kept coming up in my mind, because I know that, personally, I often try and I think of the person as way up there and they're out there and they're, kind of, and I'm just thinking, how in this way, acting as if this is the case, how do we apply that to the relationship with the teacher?
I don't understand that. If you're I mean, you'd have to have the. What do you mean, Jason? Keep your thing on. Keep your unmute. Listen, if you're studying mathematics, it's your teacher. First of all, you got to. Okay, we don't choose our teacher. Our mother sends us to school, but let's assume there's been some due diligence done, and they've checked up that the teacher at school is valid. So that step has been taken, and you're going to have some confidence she's not fucking lying to you. Sorry, I didn't mean to swear, but I just did. She's not lying to you. So you're already set up. Oh, Miss Holton, really? And you're eager to listen. She tells me that 1 + 1 is 2. I must write this down. 1 + 1 is 2. And I learn it. But I don't just leave it there. And I trust my teacher. That's the basis of the logic. And then I go to prove it. Now, if it's wrong, she'll be the first one to hear that it's wrong because she wants the truth as well. I can't see any contradiction. It's not, I'm not trying to say swallow it whole. I'm not saying that. You're open to it. You don't go home, oh, 1 + 1 is 2, and I'm just going to believe it. I'm going to believe it. I'm going to believe it. No, you go home and eagerly prove it. So karma takes time, but this is the point, Jason. But so I don't see how it can be contradicting the teacher one. That's very confusing to me. Think of it just 1 + 1 is 2. I don't know why you think it's a problem. I think it's.
No, I wasn't thinking of it as a problem. I was just
What do
thinking
you
about
mean that?
the in my mind, I was thinking, well, what does that mean for the way? What is the way then to relate to the teacher? Because
Think of 1 + 1 is 2. You tell me. I've been thinking about it. Miss Holton, my Miss Holton at school at the Catholic convent, she told me 1 + 1 is 2. So I listened to her. I liked Miss Holton. I trusted Miss Holton. I'd have to have faith in her.
yep,
Assuming I've done my due diligence, and I'm eager to write it down. I'm eager to hear. I'm not going, what does she mean? 1 + 1 is 2. I'm not going to listen to that. Oh, I want to learn it because I know that knowledge she has got and she's proven it to me. So I listen to it, meaning let's write it down. 1 + 1 is 2. So I'm eagerly treating it as a truth. Now I've got to go home and prove it. And that proves to me Miss Holton was right, and it increases my faith.
yep,
Can you see?
yes, thank you.
That's the point.
Yeah,
Just treat it like any knowledge. Don't make it religious knowledge, It's the same thing.
yeah. So respectful, keen, engaged.
And yeah, and that's why they debate, happily debate, because you're trying to get to the truth, not just argue with someone to find fault. You're not being cynical. You're not kind of going, oh, I can't be right. Don't be ridiculous. You've got to be at the point. Otherwise, if you're at that point, you're not ready to listen to 1 + 1 is 2 yet.
Yeah,
You can't force it down your throat. You've got to check the teacher and happily go to that class with your pencil and happily write it down, all eager and excited. Wow, 1 + 1 is 2, as if it were true. Now you prove it. And as the Dalai Lama says, that's how you approach Dharma. Each step of the way, you're doing it like that with eagerness and delight, based upon faith in having checked the teacher, having checked the Buddha, having checked the Dalai Lama, having checked Miss Holton, having checked your physics teacher, having checked your tennis player teacher. And that grows and grows. And he says, if you go home and then you finally prove to yourself from practice that what Buddha told you is right, then you happily reject him. Because we're looking for the truth, not to swallow whole.
thank you. Very
Okay.
clear.
Good, Amy. Good, Jason. Thank you. Hello, Tracy Lee. Sweetheart.
Morning. Thank you for today. I had a question, and it was, what can we do to become more attuned to karma, like develop a karma radar, if you like, so that we can stop or slow down this tendency to be tossed around by.
Yeah, that's right. No, I understand. So this is why for me, Tracy Lee, is it Tracy Lee I call you? Tracy Lee.
Yeah, Tracy Lee's
Good,
great.
darling. So listen, for me, there are so many things that in karma, in the teachings, but the things that really grabbed me that I go on repeatedly about are understanding, learning the 4 ways that karma ripen. There are 4 ways, Tracy Lee, and if you look at it, it covers every element of an entire life. The first one is the actual type of rebirth you get. So there you are as a human. So we have to look at what's the cause of being a human. Well, the cause of being a human is a positive karmic seed planted in your mind, was triggered at the time of your past death, and that was a strong action of non-killing, practiced, no doubt, as Lama Zopa says, in the framework of living in vows of non-killing. A very powerful seed was triggered at the time of your death of non-killing that caused you to get a human body. So non-killing. So you got to know roughly, even roughly what the causes are, the main actions: killing, stealing, lying, non-killing, non-stealing, non-lying, the main ones. Half a dozen. So then the first one is the type of rebirth. Now, within that rebirth, there's you, Tracy Lee, you got a human body. But now we look at the second way your past actions are ripening in the present is in your mind, the kind of mind you've got. Now, this is a big one because we all assume that I've got this because of my mother, and I'm this way because of my daddy, and I'm this way because of my genes, and I'm this way because of my, it's true, that's a secondary cause, but the main cause of why you have a tendency to steal or lie or be good at music or be good at patience is because you've practiced them before. They're just a bunch of habits. We come programmed into this life from the first second of conception, programmed, Tracy Lee, with our own mental tendencies. We have, this is the most crucial one, because all of our models in the world all talk about the brain, all talk about the mother and the father, all go back, and when you're a psychologist, you go back to the child, and the child was produced by the parent. And they were, but we've got to realize that child from the time of conception came into this life with their own mental tendencies. That's a massively important point, and we've got to really think that one through. Which doesn't mean your parents don't play a role. I mean, I always use the example, my mother was a classical musician. And she saw her little Bobsy, me, had a tendency to be good at music. So everyone says, oh, Rabina's good at music because she got it from her mother. Well, no, I didn't. My mother came into this life with a tendency to be good at that type of activity from having done it before. I came into this life with a tendency to be good at that type of activity from having done it before. And I was conveniently born to a mother who could help nourish my tendency. We've got to spell these words out, not just... Because the world's view, the scientific one, is not that your mother doesn't play a role. It's not that the genes don't play a role. They do, but the first cause is always past action of my mind in the past that drops a seed into my mind that then ripens me being born to that mother with those genes or whatever it might be. We've got to think it through like that to be clear about it. The third way in this life that our karma ripens is, and you think about it, we're very social beings. It's how we're seen and treated by the outside world. So from the time you're born, you've got mummies and daddies and aunties and uncles and the cat and the rats and the cockroaches in the kitchen and the pet dog and the neighbors. The world is full of other people, and how basically they see us and treat us, is a simple way to put it, is the third kind of karma called experiences similar to the cause. And from the time we're conceived, we are going to be we're interacting with other people. People will like us or not like us, or steal from us, or lie to us, or be loving to us, or be kind to us, or not give us credit at the bank, or not believe our words. Every second of the day, we're having this kind of experience. All of those are the third way our karma ripens, including all the good and all the bad. And this is massive, because all we just feel is innocent victims. Somebody went and was mean to me. I did nothing to deserve it. But if it happened to you, you must have caused it from past life. And the fourth one is called environmental karma, the very physical world we exist in, the way it impacts upon us. That's the fruit of our karma as well. So if you think about it, the entire environment, all the other beings, my own mind and my own body, all my actions are the cause of all of this. That's 4 things, and that covers your entire life. So knowing this as a fundamental point, you apply it every second. Someone smiles at you. Wow, that's the fruit of my past virtue. Someone steals your money. That's the fruit of my stealing. Someone doesn't believe your words. That's the fruit of my past lying, even if you're telling the truth. Every tiny thing that happens, you apply these 4 things and you own it. Each one. Buddha uses the concept of seeds. Well, your life is your garden, Tracy Lee. Everything in your mind, everything that happens to you, everything the environment does, you created the causes. Then the external world are like catalysts to trigger those karmic seeds, and they bring our experiences of happiness and suffering. That's the way to say it, to spell it out to ourselves. And that's how you apply it. But you can't apply it if you can't say these words. You understand me?
Yep, I do. Thank you very much.
I mean, those 4 points, they just touch on it in theory, just briefly in the teachings. But that for me is massive, to grab hold of that, and that helps us be able to articulate every moment of our life. And we have to remember it every day. Everything that arises is out there. It's your garden. Your life is your garden, and what ripens in it, you sowed the seed, baby. And this way we can begin to take responsibility, and it's very powerful. Otherwise, we just become strangled, and get depressed and whatever. And especially, of course, too, because we only remember the bad things. But every tiny good thing, a person smiling at you in the street, you see a pleasant rose in someone's garden, the weather is peaceful, tiny baby events, every one of those is the fruit of a virtue. If it triggers a happy feeling, it's the fruit of a virtue. If it triggers an unhappy feeling, it's the fruit of a non-virtue. Do you understand?
Thank you very much. That's
Good.
wonderful. Yeah, good. Thank you.
Okay. Yes.
Hi there.
Monique, and then Melissa, go on there. Then Monique. Melissa, go, darling.
Oh, hi, Dane. Yes, look, just point one, I just wanted to say I'm a friend of Yantra de Vilder's, and you were talking about music and the karma of if you're, come from music,
Yeah.
it's not necessarily apparent. I just wanted to say the chanting CD that you did that I've been given by Yantra,
Yeah.
it is absolutely superb. I just want to acknowledge
Oh, good,
how
darling. I'm so happy.
beautiful. But also
Good,
to have
Melissa.
female voices chanting is
Yeah,
so
there
unheard
you
of
go.
with all the men. So I just wanted to
I
say
know.
that.
Good,
But
Melissa.
also,
Thank you, darling.
thank you for your teaching, because today it's I know I came to you in Ashfield once, and I used to be a
Yeah.
smoker, and I remember you looked at me and you went, you got to give that up. You immediately knew. Even though I was meters away from you, it's like, nah, you could tell. And it was like that really knocked my socks off. And I've obviously haven't been smoking for years, but I'm now much more involved with Buddhism, and I've just had
Yeah.
little. Have you heard of Rinpoche Chemila? He's a 6-year-old down in Melbourne. Do you know
Yeah.
little Chemi, who's the
Yeah.
incarnation of the Gundan Trooper, Rinpoche?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cancer. Yeah. Anyway, he's just been staying with his family, and I just think
Ah,
being around them has completely blown my
amazing.
socks off. It's
Good.
anyway. I've just
Good,
had such a
Melissa.
good time. But thank you anyway. That's enough. I just want to
Okay,
say thank you
sweetheart.
for teaching.
Thank you, darling. I'm happy to hear it, Melissa. Thank you, darling.
Thank you.
Go on, Monique. Yeah, talk to me, sweetheart.
Yes, thank you, Venerable Rabina. I just had a question about karma and loneliness and what the sort of relationship might be there.
Okay, I think this is something I do want to talk about now, but it's not directly related to loneliness, but I'll bring it in. And this is getting more deeply into why karma is so hard for us. And I think if we look at the three poisons, this is such a cute phrase, the three poisons, the two main ones in day to day, attachment and aversion, attachment and anger. And they sound kind of cute to us when we say these things, but the more we unpack these mental states and become familiar with them, the more it really begins to explain ourselves to ourselves. So my feeling is that the view of, see, if we look at attachment and anger, so the main voice of ego is attachment. So when we understand attachment is primarily this very kind of emotional hunger, a feeling of not having enough, a feeling of not being enough. Okay. So attachment, that's multifaceted. One of the deepest tendencies is to feel I'm not enough. I don't have enough, and even I am not enough. So then another way of talking about attachment is also the energy of anticipating, looking forward, manipulating, controlling, possessiveness. It's got all these aspects, but a more primordial level of attachment, if we begin to try and hear what attachment is saying, it's really this very heavy kind of sense of entitlement. Attachment's deepest energy is this really deep feeling that I only deserve good things. I only deserve good things. We don't say it so precisely, but I'm going to get to your loneliness one. But this one is so deep inside. It's a deep assumption, and it's there every single second. And why? And let's prove that's true. It's mostly there, and we don't notice. But the millisecond attachment doesn't get what it wants, which is when the bad thing happens. When you stub your toe or a person does a mean thing to you, then what arises is aversion, like, oh my God, that go away. But when it turns into anger, which is more strong, what does anger say? Anger says, how dare you do that to me? I don't deserve bad things. So attachment is this deep assumption that I only deserve good things, that it's my right. And then how dare bad things happen, which brings anger, I don't deserve. So deserve for me has this massive role in our ego. That's why when we mishear karma, a bad thing happens. Oh, you mean it's my fault? I deserve bad things? But it's the hubris of attachment and aversion that are so shocking. But the bigger point I'm trying to get, which is what counteracted by karma, when you say, I deserve only the good things, and loneliness comes down to this one, Monique, somehow the assumption is deserve means someone else is supposed to make me happy. Someone else should give me good things. When you say, I deserve only good feelings, I deserve good things, it's sort of like we're waiting for other people to make us happy. And I think loneliness is not trying to be cruel. Loneliness is also is attachment, and it's this feeling that I'm not enough. And it's also the feeling that somehow I'm not enough until someone tells me I'm enough. It's a bit different from what I said before. So loneliness is you've got all these thoughts, you're on your own in your house, and you have all these thoughts, and you say you're lonely. What do you mean is you've got no one to share them with. And what that means is there's no one saying back to me, Robina, what a good idea. Robina, you're a lovely person. So attachment is a feeling of being isolated. I am nothing. And if there's no one there praising me or liking me or stroking me or doing things for me, I must be worthless. So loneliness is a symptom of deep, deep attachment and this sense of I'm nothing. I want to go back to the other point in a minute, but does that make sense, Monique?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
So the deep in our bones, attachment assumes we're not enough, which is why we are hungry. I mean, for sex, drugs, and rock and roll, basically. But the biggest one we're hungry for, Monique, is other people stroking us, looking at us, liking us, hearing us, and praising us. So there's nothing wrong with that. As a mother, it's our job to do that to our children. But if we only treat it as you know, if we're on the receiving end of all that praise and that love, but we don't know how to use, I put it this way, we don't know how to use that to nourish our own heart, you'll just keep wanting your husband to keep being nice to you. You keep wanting your mother to praise you. Do it again. Praise me again. Praise me again. But if we can grow up and take the nourishment from the outside, take people's kindness and nourish our own heart, so eventually we can approve of ourselves, then we would never be lonely, Monique. Loneliness is only because we have attachment. And we assume we're nothing until someone else says we're something. Do you hear my point?
Thank you. Yeah, I do.
It's a very deep one, darling, and it's the biggest suffering on this planet.
Mm.
So back to this other point, though, the hubris of attachment, deep down, it's this assumption that somehow, and I think in our world it's very true, we say, oh, I didn't ask to get born. It's not my fault. That's exactly the dualistic view of attachment and aversion. So, someone else decided to make me, so they'd bloody well better make me happy. It's their job. So attachment assumes it's someone else's job to give me nice things, to say nice words to me, to make me happy, because we don't know how to do it ourselves. So it's so utterly self-centered, and it's the cause of our terrible suffering. And then how dare a person does a bad thing? I don't deserve that. And we believe this in the depths of our being. So now, when you have the view of karma and you apply it, it's completely the opposite. So, as I say, if you look in your bank and you discover there's no money, you would never, ever say, how dare there be no money in my bank? I deserve money. In other words, you assume that someone's supposed to put money in your bank. We know it's not like that, so we would never say it. If you look in your garden and you see weeds, you would never say, who put weeds in my garden? I don't deserve weeds. The reason we don't is because we own the bank account as our own. We own the garden as our own, and what's in it, we put it there. That's the view of karma. And that completely changes this lessens attachment and anger. It lessens this innocent victim feeling. I mean, this stuff's quite subtle, and not to use it as criticism. It's like a revelation. It's like learning to understand the nutrition of food. You don't kill yourself because you ate the wrong food. You learn about it. So here, this is mental nutrition. But the one of loneliness, Monique, it's very common. But it's so deep we don't notice because we don't pay a deep enough attention to our thoughts. So we have to counteract it. It doesn't mean we shouldn't have friends. It's wonderful to have friends. But the trouble is we're like junkies. We have a friend, we go out and we get all nourished by each other. Then we go home and we're lonely again because we don't know how to use that friendship to nourish our own heart. And it's very deep. It's really the deepest one we have, this deep sense that I'm not enough. And we don't even think it's possible to verify ourselves, to become happy in ourselves, to be content with ourselves. And the irony is when we become more happy in ourselves and more fulfilled in ourselves, and we don't need hungrily other people, people won't leave us alone because we're such fun to be with, because we're not little emotional little vampires, you know. Do you understand, people? Do you understand, Kath? Not Kath, Monique.
I
But it's
do.
very hard,
Thank you.
darling. And the other thing, I'm not trying to be talking about you or anything here, but one of the problems with loneliness, we're always, again, it's assuming it's someone else's job to come to me and love me and make me happy. We never think, well, what can I do to make other people happy? I mean, you all know people who are really good and kind to other people. They're not lonely because they're thinking, what can I do to help other people? But the lonely one, I'm not trying to be rude, is this kind of this hubris, this entitlement. Poor me. There's no one coming to take care of me. There's no one loving me, you know? I mean, it's not being mean. It's hard to hear this stuff. But this is why we suffer. And we should be kind to ourselves in seeing this, you know. It all comes down to attachment and aversion. I'm sorry. It sounds so cute, but it really is profound. As Lama Yeshe says, always quote, I can tell you about attachment for one whole year. You'll never begin to understand it until you start looking deeply inside. But what I'm getting at here is the view of karma immediately counteracts attachment and aversion, because it's my life is my garden. So if someone's kind to me, wow, that's the fruit of my past virtue. And you own it. You own it. And if someone's unkind, you own it. You own it. It's your garden. You must have caused it. And so you can fix it then, you know. It's really leading also to emptiness. It's dependent arising, I tell you. Cause and effect is a first example to prove emptiness. It's very powerful. Are we communicating, people? 9 o'clock. What else could discuss? Hello, Donna. Talk to me, sweetheart.
Hello. Well, you just said something that usurps the question I was going to ask. You said if someone is unkind to us, we can fix it. How do we fix it?
Okay, well, let me be more precise. Okay, if we take this view, as we're saying, that everything that happens, the one of everything that happens to us, everything out there, the people at work and home and the family and the next door neighbors and the people on the freeway, everything out there, all the 1,000 events a day, every tiny one of those events, we can argue, I think, some of them are nice, and a person's kind to us, a person gives us something, a person smiles, the car lets you go past, baby events all day of nice things. So the way to apply karma is not just take it for granted, oh, I deserve that, or do it mindlessly. But every second it happens, it's like thinking, wow, I must have created the cause for that. And then the next step is, well, I must keep creating the cause. So you own it. You own that moment of someone being kind to you, instead of feeling like separate from it. Oh, aren't I lucky someone was kind to me? As if somehow I don't play a role in it. So the same, and we can do it with the good things. We should practice those. Then when the bad one happens, you know, the first instinct, of course, is we're upset. But then when we speak to ourselves using this principle of karma, well, that's the fruit of some action I did like that. So instead of feeling the pain of ego is feeling like it's not fair. But when you realize the one of karma, you don't think that because you own it, like the weed in your garden. You don't go, how dare there be that weed? It's not fair, which is how you don't. You go, it's a learning. You learn, it's a learning. Okay, it's my weed. I must have forgotten to pull it out, and you learn from it. I will pull it out and I'll make sure I don't plant it again. That's how you do it. Do you understand me?
But then let's get into it. I have a person that is very undeveloped, and well, she was my brother's ex-wife. So she's not even, but I'm not going to say she's not mine. Yes, she is mine, because we must have had some karmic thing. How do I work with a person like that? I don't have to see her often, but
okay. So what do you mean is, if you're in a scenario where you're forced to be with her for an hour or so, is that what you're talking about? Or just
well,
okay.
Not even that, as sometimes, but it's really my mind. Do I every time I think of her, and it doesn't come up that much because I've done a lot of work on it. But do I send her loving kindness at every moment?
No, you don't have to do that. You can if you want to, but that's different. There are different levels of practice. I mean, the first one is noticing yourself Okay, there's two things. There's always one thing out there, and there's our mind. So you're describing a human being here, and you've already said some words describing her. So obviously so this is the most powerful one, Donna. There she is, and you might be right about her. You might be. But the real one to look at when you're on your own is whatever it is in you that she triggers, because that's yours. That's
Okay,
that's
excellent.
the one, darling. You got to. She might be a maniac. She might be a psychopath. You might be right. But what is it she triggers in me, and that's your business. You might even keep away from her, but that's the way to think about it. There's her. She's the catalyst for something in me, and that's my business. And we've got to grab it and look at it. That's your bit.
Excellent. And that's going to
Okay.
take a minute. Yeah, that's
That's
great.
masses of hard work, Donna, and this is the really one that's hard for us because we leap into the criticism. And you might be right, but you might be right about her, but that's not the issue here. What is it she triggers in me? That's the point.
Oh, I'm aware that it doesn't matter if I'm right. It's in my mind. Yeah.
No, what I'm saying is it does matter. You might be right, but
Oh,
still, you might be right. A person you maybe saw someone steal, you might be right about that. That's a fact. Now let's look at what my response to it is. Now let's look at the anger or the attachment or the whatever it is in me that triggered. That's what I'm getting at.
okay.
It's not just
Okay.
in your mind. It's not just in your mind. I mean, there can be a maniac. We can make it up. If you're really angry with this woman and you said she did something that she mightn't have done, that's possible. But here, there is always what I'm getting at is whatever it is out there, good or bad, it always triggers something in us. That's what our piece is to look at. That's the
Okay.
point.
Very good.
You understand, darling?
Yes,
And then
thank you.
eventually, when we work on it, she'll be water off a duck's back. And eventually, you'll even have compassion for her because you know she's harming herself. But that comes eventually. Don't leap into that one. We've got to look at our mind first.
You know, I'm so inspired tonight for some reason
Good on you, darling.
by what you're saying. And I was thinking today, I saw a moth in the house
Uh-huh.
and I said, no, I'm not gonna, you're gonna live. You're gonna
Good,
live.
well done, lucky
I'm
moth.
not killing you.
Well done, darling. Good on you, Donna. Okay,
Okay.
sweetheart. What
Thank
else,
you.
people?
Could I ask a question?
Absolutely, Katya. Talk to me.
Thank you. I'm from Sydney. Sorry, I'm
Good
not on
job.
camera. Um,
Yeah.
just around the karma, one of the things that I really struggle with is I do a lot of sponsorship for children who are born really disabled, particularly in the
Yes.
Ukraine. And
Yes.
I look at this small child and I go, okay, so he's born with nothing and severely disabled. And
Yes.
so are we saying, maybe this is a naive or silly question, but are we saying that something would have happened through many lifetimes for this child to be born into this position? Because in the moment right now, this child has done nothing wrong but by being
That's right.
born.
Of course. That's right. Of course not. So of course that's exactly what. But the only way, Katya, keep your thing on mute. I want to talk to you. The only way that we can take on board this as a theory is to first hypothesize that this person's mind and your mind and everybody's mind goes back and back and back and back to countless lifetimes, that we every millisecond of what we thought and done and said in those lifetimes sows seeds in our mind. Everything that's negative that we've done in countless past lives will ripen as suffering, and everything positive will ripen as happiness. So that child, yes, you can deduce their last life or 72 lives ago. There's trillions of karmic seeds in our mind. But a good way to also counteract that one, because that's why we hear it as blame, and your whole assumption in what you're saying is there's some kind of blame and punishment there. But it's got nothing to do with anyone doing it to us. But if you take another example, and we never use this example, but it's exactly the same. It's like you're asking me, you mean this little girl I know who's got a beautiful mummy and a beautiful daddy and a healthy body, and she's money in the bank, and she's lovely and she's kind, and people adore her. You mean she did something good in the past? That's exactly the same principle. So the answer is yes. Do you see the point?
Okay.
You see the point I'm
Yes.
making? But our trouble is, as soon as we're shocked by when it's a bad thing, it's because we take it as punishment. We assume someone punished her, but in Buddhism, there's no such concept because there's no creator. There's no person running the show. Each of us is experiencing every millisecond the fruits of our past. And when you've got this view, the one of karma, in fact, it increases your compassion for the suffering people, and you even can have compassion for the harmers as well, because you know they're causing themselves suffering in the future. So it increases our compassion because we're all in the same boat, Katya. We've all got something. We all come from the past. We all don't want suffering. We do want happiness. So when we have this view, it increases our compassion and your wish to want to be of benefit to others who are suffering as a result, you know. But now the trouble is, again, this word I said before, deserve. We all feel that the only ones we can have compassion for, they have to deserve it, which means they have to be
Yes,
innocent
yes.
victim. So as soon as we hear about karma, it seems like the opposite to innocent victim. But there's no concept of punishment and reward. It's quite hard for us to hear this because it's a very different view. Understand?
Yes, no, I do. This is good. Thank you. This is similar to an
Good.
article I read a long time ago about people that didn't want to give money to homeless people if they thought they were using them for drugs or for alcohol. And this man
Yeah,
said,
there
"But
you
who are
go.
you to judge?
That's right.
Who are you
It's
to
so
judge? You give them out
that's
of
right.
kindness."
That's it. It's exactly right. We're very vindictive. We're prepared to have compassion, but you've got to deserve my
Only if it
compassion.
suits
You know?
us.
That's right, darling. Exactly,
Mm.
Katya. That's exactly right, darling.
Mm. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Good. Hello, Glenn. Talk to me again, Glenn Franco. Gianfranco.
Gianfranco, yeah.
Talk.
How can you talk a bit about how delusions relate to karma and how we can work with them?
Say a bit more with that question.
Well, I notice that when I'm about to do a positive action or an unvirtuous action, it's preceded by certain thoughts and states. How can I work with that?
I really need you to say more, Gianfranco. I want to really understand you, and I can't quite at the moment. Say it in a different way, or give me a scenario.
Well, if I go into an environment that, like, let's say I go into, oh, let's say people are gossiping. I find myself in an environment where people are gossiping, and I suddenly find myself starting to participate in that, knowing fully well that that's not really what gonna bring me happiness. Put it that way.
Uh-huh. So you're discussing maybe situations where the conditions are kind of hard to counteract.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, I mean, that's where you've got to have some. That's what. So this is where the first point is to even be noticing our mind. And when we're with others, Giancarlo, we're not even noticing our mind because we're all eagerly trying to please each other or crack jokes, you know. So it's really important to have this basic practice every day where you're bringing it into your situations at work or at home, and you're noticing your mind. You're noticing the outside, but you're noticing what's in your mind. So there are all these people, this tendency to be mean, bad mouthing other people, and because we want to be friends, we naturally join in. So we've got to catch our mind, and then at the very least, maybe refrain from saying something without trying to criticize people. And if it gets too much, you go, oh, I'm late, I've got to go, you know. So it's catching your mind and just protecting yourself, you know. It's like if you're a bit of a tendency to be an alcoholic and you're with a bunch of people all drinking alcohol, you'll just fall into it without any awareness. So you've got to catch yourself carefully and know what's danger area for you and protect your mind, you know? Do you understand?
yeah,
Does that make sense?
yes. Very
And
good.
that's not easy because we love being around people. We're very influenced by each other because we have so much. Also, because we have a lot of attachment to be seen as a good boy. So before we know it, we're kind of launching, and so we just got to be aware, you know. And that's why it's good to have a daily practice, just to catch our mind and be cautious, you know.
Mm.
And but without at the same time without being arrogant with our friends and telling them off. You understand?
Yeah, yeah.
We don't want to do that. Yeah,
Very
it's not easy.
Thank you.
It's just really being aware and having some self-confidence that you can make some decisions, you know, and not be afraid of what people think. That's
Yeah.
important, I think.
Yeah,
You understand?
yeah. Mhm.
Good. Okay.
Thank you.
Beck's got a question. Yes, sweetheart.
Thank
Good.
you for your teachings. I'm just trying to clear in my mind how the mental continuum maintains form when we die. And I know that we've got physical matter and the mind, and they're different. But I had a conversation with my partner last night that, like, everything kind of comes to an end and physical matter kind of, yeah, like physical matter comes to an end.
Like,
Can
I
you
understand your point. I
Yeah,
understand. I think it's
yeah.
very helpful. No, it's really helpful back to, I think the Vajrayana model of all really helps understand. This is the basis of the Tibetan medical system. It's similar to the Ayurvedic system. It's a bit similar to the Chinese. But basically, the Vajrayana system basically says in the universe, you have minds, and then there is matter. And matter consists of the four elements. We used to think this a few hundred years ago in our culture, but there is the four elements. But the crucial point is this. It has been seen by the greatest yogis, the holy beings, that all minds are inextricably linked to their own set of the four elements. So in your mind, so in other words, you've got the gross consciousness, which is your sensory consciousness, and then you have the gross physical, which is this bag of bones, right? They are inextricably linked. You can't separate eye consciousness from eyeball, but they're two separate phenomena, but they work interdependently. So as you go through the death process, the grosser physicality ceases, and then the sensory consciousnesses literally absorb into the more subtle level. Then you've got the mental consciousness, which is more subtle, and that's all your thoughts and feelings and emotions. And then at the time you stop breathing, the grosser level has ceased. But now the subtle consciousness is your thoughts and feelings, and that's inextricably connected to all these wind energies connected to them. And they're both together, inextricably linked, coursing through this subtle nervous system from the tip of your head to the tip of your toe, these 72,000 subtle channels. So when you go to your Tibetan doctor, she'll feel your pulses and she'll feel an imbalance of certain wind energies, which she recognizes are inextricably linked to your attachment. And she will then know that's why you're having panic attacks, because the winds are berserk. So she'll give you herbal medicine to calm down the winds, which then helps calm down the attachment, because the winds and the different states of mind are totally linked. They say the mind rides on the winds. So, okay, as Lama Zopa says, this is very helpful about karma. There's your mind, okay, your mental consciousness, and you're having a few, say you're having some angry thoughts, just thoughts. Automatically, that one that keeps programming you with a tendency to be angry on the one hand, but at the same time, the wind energy is inextricably linked to your anger. You pollute those wind energies, and that eventually manifests at the grosser level as physical sickness. And even in turn, long term, over many lifetimes, that impacts upon the external elements, and then you get reborn in a disgusting, smelly physical environment. So even the physical external world is coming from minds impacting upon the elements, which impacts upon external elements, all created by minds. So your mind goes through the process of death, the grosser level ceases, then the subtler level, and the winds keep absorbing, and the subtler minds get subtler and subtler, and eventually you go through the 8 stages of death, and you get to the very subtle level of consciousness, the clear light mind, the subtlest level of your conscious being, and that's inextricably linked with this very subtle wind, and they can never be separated. And then based on the karmic seeds you've got in that mind, then next life it'll be you're born in a hell realm where your mind, due to negativity, and then your mind basically will be reborn, and the elements, basically the predominant element of those 4 elements will be the fire element, and your mind is conjoined with the fire element, and you have intense, painful, suffering karmic appearances. Your mind can be reborn in an animal's body, and then your mind is conjoined with those elements. And if you're born, so the mental and the physical are inextricably linked, and what runs the show as to what physical level we have, it's the mind. Do you see what I'm saying? Are you understanding me?
I am. I've got a lot to learn and to absorb that message. But
No, I know. I
so,
said a lot of things there, darling. It's sort of like
yeah,
it's
yeah,
a very completely different model. But to even
yeah.
understand in principle how mind is not physical and all minds are inextricably linked to their own set of the 4 elements. Clearly, this is not neuroscience, okay? It's a completely different model. But it sort of explains how whatever we think impacts upon the winds, which then gross level impacts and manifests as a grosser physical level. They're all linked completely. And then even the next life. Mine continues, and then due to the karma that is triggered at the time of your death, you'll be born to a new mother, a dog mother, human mother, or whatever, and with a certain kind of physicality and a certain kind of external environment, all created by our minds.
So is it correct to say that the elements very subtly is what allows the mental continuum to continue to the next life. Like it is.
Absolutely, you could
a
argue that very much.
win-win.
Yeah, the mind runs the show, but because the mind's connected to these elements, it drives them, and then that determines the kind of physical body and physical experiences that you get in the next life, as well as your mental ones.
Thank
Just
you. Very
totally,
helpful. Yeah.
absolutely, yeah. Yeah, the mind. They say the mind rides on the winds. They use that analogy.
Yeah.
Someone else. Someone else. Any questions, people?
Rubina?
Yes. Talk
It's
to me.
Alison.
Hello, Alison.
Hi. My question, well, I have two questions in regard to karma and experiences similar to the cause.
Yeah.
I have my father, my son, my brother, and my husband who are all addicts.
And you've got all these blokes in your life.
And my question is, experiences similar to the cause, is it because I was an addict in their life? And then two,
Yeah.
how does karma get so intense? It's not
No.
just one person, it's
Yeah.
four people in my
No,
life.
I know, darling. I know. But, yeah, okay. So first of all, you don't have a tendency to be an addict, right? You're suggesting that. Okay.
Yeah.
No, it just means you have strong karmic connection with these particular people, and that kind of experience is like you're born to a mother and father who steal all day, but you don't steal. And some experience, but it's not because you've been a junkie. If you had been. Well, no, okay. The first one is your mind, so you haven't got that, but you live in this environment, and no, not just you got the experiences similar to the cause. These four people, do they cause you a lot? Does it cause you a lot of suffering? I mean, is it kind of brings you've got this role to try and support them and help them? Is it?
At times it does, yes.
Well, you
Especially
see, maybe that's due to compassion, that you've got this strong karma with these people and you've made strong wishes to benefit them, and they're all born around you as a bunch of junkies depending upon you, Alison. So it could be a good thing.
Okay.
If you feel your role is to help them, if you feel you want them all just to bugger off, then it's different, But if you seem to want to help them, right? And you're there supporting them. Is that you could have made prayers and aspirations. And you could argue you got some karmic debt with them to be supportive of them when they need you, and you're doing that right now. So if you can own that karmically, that can make you happy.
Okay.
Does it get you depressed? They don't get better?
No, because I do a lot of work on, I didn't cause it, I can't control it, I can't
There you
change
go.
it.
Well done.
that
That's
type
exactly
of thing.
right.
But
Yeah,
my
that's
question
really
is,
important. Go on.
why is it so, how is it so intense? Like, why is it not just my dad that I've sort of got to deal with? Why is it almost
it's
like there's so many
No,
people and I'm
I
like,
know. Well, that's just because you got strong karma with many people. I mean, people have karma with hundreds of people. That's nothing surprising.
okay, all right.
And they're obviously close to each other,
Yeah.
Just because I just think it sounds like you've got some karma to help them, and how wonderful of you. How lucky they are to have you, darling.
Okay. All right. No, I just didn't know if I caused it, in
No,
terms of my
nothing to do with
karma,
it.
being an addict in their lives, therefore I'm getting it
I
back
mean,
to them,
okay,
so.
you might have been, but to have people, to be born in a family where people steal and you don't. I mean, there's obviously some karma there to see it, to have it around you. It's true, but clearly it's not your tendency. So I just think more for you, it seems like some karma to help them, You've
Okay.
made aspirations to help them.
Okay.
I think so. I'm not sure, Alice. Thank you, darling.
Thank you.
Hello, Ree. Talk to me.
Hi, Venerable Rubina.
Hi, darling.
Just a question. I have a Tibetan doctor in Sydney I go to. He's very lovely. And he's basically said I have a blockage, not like in my body, but in my wind energy, I'm assuming, or
That's
something
right.
like that.
Sure. That's
And
right. Yeah.
he basically said, I can't tell you what it is. You have to find it. And I don't know how to.
Well, I mean, I don't know about that. I don't understand that. I don't. It's a bit kind of a broad statement. You have to explain more to me. I don't understand.
I think it's something in my mind, something I'm carrying, or maybe from my past.
I just think it's no, darling. First of all, everything that you're experiencing, let's say it comes to physical health, is to do with past actions. You created them. I mean, the physical is one of the results of past mental things that we've done. So he just means I mean, he just probably means you have to learn from your own experience to know by knowing your own mind. That's all. I mean, that's our
Okay.
job. But I mean, don't force
Okay.
it. You can't. It's so subtle, Ree. I mean, it could be 1,000 lifetimes ago. So don't even try. Just do your best to work with your mind and deal with what
Okay.
you can see. And then as you grow a bit deeper and deeper, you get deeper and deeper, and eventually things manifest. But we can't force ourselves. And it's not like a secret you should find out. That's just be who you are and learn from yourself every day. It's all you can do, Ree. I think.
Okay.
You understand
Okay.
me?
Yeah. I just sort of been looking into myself more,
I know
seeing.
but all you can do is see yourself according to where you're at. I mean, you
Yeah.
can't do more than you can do, Ree. But if you and you know, that's I mean, yeah, I mean, every tiny illness, every tiny imbalance is due to some karma. It could be 1,000 lives ago. So to try and find the answer to it more is not really the point. It's to deal with more what you are each day and practice
Okay.
every day and purify.
Okay.
Because we don't see most results. I mean, every day you're practicing virtue, you're sowing really powerful virtuous seeds in your mind that you don't see the results of for several lifetimes. So sort of be happy that you're practicing and be happy you're purifying and know the results are coming. You're putting seeds in your garden and be happy with that, you know? I think that's
Okay.
important.
All right.
You
Just
understand
keep
me?
plant. Yeah.
I'm glad you're a good doctor. That's good.
I do. Thank you.
Good. Okay. What else? See, there's one of attachment though, but it's the same old thing. Attachment, it sounds such a simple word, but the more we look at it, I tell you, it is really multifaceted. But so let's just for a second look at when we hear that attachment is dissatisfaction, the main energy of attachment is dissatisfaction. And it seems like it's hard to recognize why. Well, it's logical when we understand. So let me try and explain. The key function of all the neuroses, all the delusions, and this is really precise, they're all concepts at the subtlest level, whatever, but they're all misconceptions. They are misconceptions. Virtuous states of minds are also concepts at the base, but they're valid concepts. So a misconception is very simple. It's like saying 1 + 1 is 3. That's a misconception. So if every time you think, okay, another example, if you've got a $50 note, but you are so convinced that it's 500, that's a misconception. But you so convinced it is 500, you even see 500. That's how attachment works. So attachment is this feeling of always dissatisfied. Always, I'm going to get to why it's dissatisfaction. It exaggerates the deliciousness of something. So every time you go to spend your $50 and you anticipate, you get excited and you anticipate $500 worth, don't you? So what do you think the result will be when you go to spend it? You will be bitterly disappointed. That's why attachment causes dissatisfaction. From countless lifetimes of exaggerating the deliciousness of the boyfriend, to exaggerating the deliciousness of our own person, exaggerating the deliciousness of money or sex or drugs or rock and roll or being praised. Attachment's constantly doing that, over exaggerating, over anticipating, over expecting, and then disappointment is the only thing that can come. So that builds up, and then this life we get born with bucket loads of dissatisfaction and more attachment. So no, and then the tragedy is the more you believe in this attachment, the more you anticipate some exciting result and the more disappointed. So you build up disappointment. So the more we build up attachment, the more disappointment we build up. And we all know the more we get, the more we want. So you crave for a husband, you're always lonely, you get a husband, and then you find fault, and now you're dissatisfied. You crave to start a new job, you're bored with this job, you change your job, you're dissatisfied. You crave another job, you're dissatisfied. You got the best house, you're dissatisfied. You got 2 husbands and 5 houses and 49 jobs, you're still dissatisfied. It is a fucking bottomless pit. So the answer to is, I'm sorry to be rude as usual, is we have to practice, and this is very funny, learning to be satisfied, saying, I am enough. It's fine, Rabina. I've got enough. I don't need to go to the kitchen for another nut. I don't need to get another cake. I just had one. I'm enough. I'm satisfied. I don't need to jump on that boy again. I'm satisfied. You've got to practice being satisfied, which is very hard work. All right, people. I'm sure we're communicating. It's the pain of this life. It's according to the Four Noble Truths, attachment effectively is the main cause of suffering. But we have to see it, and counteract it. Just change the thought. Attachment saying, I'm not enough, I haven't got enough, it's not enough, I'm not doing enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not, it's just saying it. And we believe it. So you have to stop believing it and just say the opposite. I am fine, I am doing enough, I have had enough. And that demands enormous discipline. But if you do it every day, don't be surprised, you'll start to believe that instead of the rubbish one. It's not tricky, I promise. Because attachment cannot be satisfied. This is not punitive. This is logic. Attachment cannot be satisfied. It's a bottomless pit. And in other words, the more you get, the more you want. My mother used to say that to me with food, and I'd think and think and think about it. The more we get, the more we want. That's the craving for more is the consequence of attachment, not satisfaction. Satisfaction is a mental state that we have to cultivate with thoughts. That's Buddha's method for getting happy. Okay, people? So think about that. Okay.
Venerable?
Yeah, could I?
Yeah, Jerry.
Hi, Venerable.
I'll put my
Thanks so
hand
much
up.
for your teaching.
Go, darling.
I'm just curious on that. So, even if you want to get something, a holiday or do something, so
That's right.
is this saying that you shouldn't even want those things?
No, this is the point. No, it's not. No, this is the point. And this is where we have to understand the distinction in Buddhist psychology between the neurotic states of mind and the valid ones. So because we assume, oh, I've got to chuck out the baby with the bathwater and become a moron and want nothing. No, that's nihilism. No, it is a valid concept is I would love to do this job so I can be of benefit to others. I would love to do this job so I can grow myself as a human being. I would love to have my lunch and then I'm going to do so that's why you change the motivation. Instead of the bottomless pit of neediness thinking I'll get happy from it, which is just instinctive. What you say, I'm going to have my breakfast. Why? So I can get fat and healthy so I can be of use to others. You change your reason. This is another practice. You put another reason behind your eating, behind your sex, behind the things that we do that are usually only driven by attachment. Do you understand? So have aspirations. Yeah, absolutely. But so in that case, so there's two practices I'm saying. The antidote to this constant dissatisfaction, aching feeling of never having enough is learn to feel I have enough. And the other approach is, yes, have a new house, have a new job, have a new husband, but not coming only from dissatisfaction because the time is finished, this job is over, I'm going to get another job. But learn to be happy while you've got that job and then change the job and get another job and get even more happy. Rather than we have a job, all excited, then we get disappointment again. It's catching our mind and adding, one, being satisfied, but two, adding virtuous reasons to why we do things. And then it becomes a virtuous action, not the action of a junkie. Are you hearing what I'm saying?
Yes, thank you very much.
Good, darling. All this is demanding enormous hard inner work. And if we don't do it, we won't get the results, And this is just the tip of the iceberg. But it's possible, people. It's totally possible. Time to finish, okay? Angela.
Hi, Venerabina. Thank you.
Good.
Awesome as always. I actually just want to say, a while ago I was reading something by Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche, and he said, say to yourself, I'm content with what I have. I'm satisfied with how the days unfold. And I thought, I like that. So I started doing it. But now from today's teaching, I understand why it's been working. Thank you.
Good. Well done, girl. And it's almost too simple because it almost seems too simple. But we've got it. It's just really called training your mind. Because attachment is automatic. It's never enough. So we've got to counteract it instead of trying to squash ourselves or beat ourselves or something. Because it's all conceptual thoughts, Change your thoughts. Well done, Angela. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Practicing. Good. Okay, darling people, that'll do us, I think. Another 90 minutes of interesting thoughts. Touch. Good, darlings. So we just think here, we just think in our own words, this first one. Think, like, okay, what it's saying is now we've planted all these seeds. Let me explain dedication. It's all a bit curious to us, this dedication. What the hell does dedication mean? I'll tell you what it means. It's just say you go out to your garden and you start planting seeds in your garden. And for 90 minutes, we've been planting seeds, right? So at the end of the planting, why you've planted, because you know those seeds are going to ripen as your delicious veggies. And you remind yourself, why did I plant those veggies? Oh, so I can share them with others. So basically dedicating is giving away your veggies. So we've just spent 90 minutes sowing thousands of good seeds in our mind just by listening. It's all virtuous. It's wonderful.